They say tech success stories start in garages. Mine started in a dying repair shop on the edge of Austin, barely 700 square feet, with flickering fluorescent lights and a cash register that clung to life like a stubborn ghost. That shop was my father's dream, and after he passed, it became mine. I was 22 when I inherited Cole Computers. Most people said I should shut it down. Liam, my younger brother, laughed when I told him I'd stay and try to make something of it. "You've got a master's in computer science, Ethan," he said over Zoom from his Boston apartment. "You're seriously going to waste that rebooting dusty desktops for retirees?" But I saw something in that cluttered little space. I saw data, systems, behavior. I saw opportunity. Customers weren't just coming in with broken machines. They were coming in with a question no one was answering. How long will this take? Where's my update? Why didn't anyone call me back? So I built something, a simple web-based repair tracker, just a basic tool that let people check repair status in real time, like tracking a FedEx package. Dad would have scoffed at it. Software doesn't turn screws, he used to say, but it worked. People came back. Referrals grew. Other shops started calling, asking if they could license it. One became 5, then 20. Within a year, Cole Computers stopped being a repair shop. We were now Cole Innovations, a software as a service company for small tech vendors. I didn't throw parties. I didn't post celebratory tweets. I worked. Days bled into nights. I coded until my fingers ached, pitched to investors who laughed in my face, and onboarded every client myself. But we grew. From 3 guys in a back room to 85 employees, 2 product lines, and a $10 million valuation. I thought I'd finally proven something. I was wrong. Liam came back into my life just as we were raising our Series A. He just exited a fintech startup, made a decent name for himself on the East Coast. "You did all this on your own?" he asked when I gave him the tour of our new office. Glass walls, standing desks, our logo in brushed steel. "You're a damn legend, man," he said, clapping me on the back. "But you're doing too much. You need help." A coup. I should have said no. But I remembered those nights of balancing burn rate forecasts and debugging legacy code, all while trying to keep morale up during crunch time. So I agreed. And that decision nearly cost me everything. Within months, Liam was streamlining operations, rebranding, positioning the company for scale, as he put it. He was charming, polished, and always knew what to say in meetings. I stayed focused on the product, the tech, the mission. He focused on the people, specifically the ones with voting power. At first, I thought the compliments were sincere. "Ethan's a brilliant founder, but I'll handle the business side." Then I noticed the media mentions, press releases with just his name, investor calls I wasn't invited to, deals signed behind closed doors. I confronted him once. "You're being paranoid," he laughed. "This is just how growth works. Don't take it personally." But I wasn't being paranoid. I was being replaced. It all came to a head at what was supposed to be a product showcase. Instead, Liam stood on stage at the Austin Tech Summit, microphone in hand, spotlights gleaming. "Today," he announced, "I'm proud to share that I'll be leading Cole Innovations into its next chapter as CEO." The room applauded. I didn't, because I never agreed to that. And in that moment, I realized 2 things. 1, my mother, Margaret Cole, was standing in the front row, smiling. 2, the people I built everything for had already decided I didn't belong anymore. But what they didn't know was that while Liam was hosting dinners and booking press interviews, I was preparing something else entirely. If you've never been betrayed by your own blood, consider yourself lucky. The worst part isn't the betrayal itself. It's the way they do it with a smile. After Liam's stage reveal, I didn't storm off. I didn't flip tables. I stood there, hands in my pockets, and watched him soak up the applause for the empire I built. Then I walked out, head down, unnoticed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't go back to the office the next day. But I didn't go home either. I went to see Sofia Rivera, our general counsel. She was the only person left in Cole Innovations I trusted. And not because she was loyal, but because she respected what we'd built, and she hated liars more than she liked praise. She poured me coffee and didn't say anything for a full minute. Then, "So, they moved without a vote?" I nodded. "They claim it was board sanctioned in the company's best interest." I made air quotes with my fingers. Classic Liam speak. Sophia didn't even blink. "And your shares?" I still hold 25% personally, I said, plus the 26% from the convertible loan Dad signed 3 years ago when we needed capital to open the second office. She looked up sharply. That agreement was finalized, signed, notarized, on record, just never registered with the updated shareholder table because you trusted them, she finished flatly. I nodded once. Sophia grabbed her laptop. Then we still have a chance. Over the next 4 weeks, Liam and Margaret painted the perfect story. Tech outlets praised Liam's bold new leadership. Margaret was quoted as saying, "Sometimes it takes a shift in vision to protect a founder from burnout." Translation, we made him irrelevant, and now we'll profit from it. My access to internal systems was slowly restricted. My calendar disappeared. Company group chats went quiet. People avoided eye contact. Margaret stepped in as chair of the board. She said it was temporary. It wasn't. What they didn't know, though, was that while they were reshuffling executives, I had started digging deep. Every equity contract, every investor clause, every line of IP licensing buried in legacy code agreements. Sophia and I worked like surgeons, dissecting the DNA of coal innovations. And what we found? Gold. First, the convertible note Dad signed to help us expand. It was sloppy rushed, full of typos, but legally binding. It stated, very clearly, that if not repaid within 18 months, his 26% stake would be automatically transferred to me in exchange for my foregone salary during that time. He never repaid it, and no one ever nullified it. Second, the IP ownership clause from the early software builds. The core repair tracking module, the beating heart of our entire platform, was registered to Innovate Ventures LLC, a placeholder I created when I was freelancing. They never acquired it. They assumed it was part of Coal Innovations. It wasn't. Third, the licensing agreement for that same core module, it expired last week, and Liam didn't notice. I smiled when I saw the date. Sophia looked at me across the conference table one evening and said something I'll never forget. "You're not out of this company," she said. "You are this company. They're the guests." I didn't say anything, just sipped my coffee and clicked download on a folder labeled Return Protocol. Everything was there. Board contracts, client memos, IP licensing triggers, and one special email scheduled to send at exactly 9:00 a.m., the morning of my father's 65th birthday, now rebranded as Coal Innovations Growth Gala by Liam. It would go to every investor, every client, and every member of the media. Subject line, Coal Innovations, a correction in leadership. I arrived at the gala 10 minutes early, not because I needed to, because I wanted to. If you're going to take back your company, don't be late. The event was being held at a massive converted warehouse turned convention space on the east side of Austin. Industrial chic, polished concrete floors, LED panels, displaying looping footage of Coal Innovation's latest milestones, all of which featured Liam's face and Margaret's name. My name? Nowhere. I didn't walk the carpet. I didn't greet the investors. I didn't pose for pictures. I walked straight through the service entrance, past the catering staff, and went straight to the green room where the leadership team was gathered. They froze when they saw me. Liam turned first, his perfectly tailored suit crisper than his grin. "Well," he said, arms outstretched, "look who decided to join us. I was beginning to think you'd finally taken that sabbatical we never got to give you." "Not a fan of retirement speeches," I said, "especially when I never agreed to retire." Liam didn't flinch. That was his thing, always composed, even in crisis. Margaret, on the other hand, looked up from her phone with a scowl that could peel paint. "You weren't invited," she said coldly. I smiled and reached into my jacket, pulling out a slim folder. I brought my own invitation. She narrowed her eyes. Inside was a certified copy of the 2019 convertible note signed, witnessed, and delivered. And beside it, a single-page clause from our licensing agreement. Margaret scanned the documents. Her lips thinned. She recognized the handwriting. "This doesn't mean what you think it does," she said. "Oh," I replied. "It means exactly what I think it does." And at 9:00 a.m., I glanced at my watch. In 3 minutes, every investor, media outlet, and client on our books will get an email clarifying who really owns the majority stake of this company. Liam's smirk twitched. "You wouldn't dare." "I already did." 9:00 a.m. sharp. The screens in the main hall flickered for a moment. Then all 20 lead walls went black. For a heartbeat, silence. Then text appeared, Cole Innovations. Leadership update effective immediately. Ethan Cole resumes position as CEO and controlling shareholder 51%. Core IP licensing has reverted. Board of directors gasps echoed through the hall. People turned toward the back, where I was now walking down the aisle toward the main stage. I took my time. Margaret stormed behind me. What have you done? I've restored clarity, I said without looking at her. Liam was still in the green room when security entered. I had pre-cleared it with Sophia the night before legally. They were now in breach of executive conduct. The moment they tried to override the agreement, they lost their seats at the table. I stepped up onto the stage and tapped the mic. Good morning, I said calmly. Some of you may be surprised. Some of you may not. But if you're here wondering what just happened, let me make it simple. I looked around the room, locking eyes with investors, developers, and press. My name is Ethan Cole. I started this company with a $900 Dell, a patchy Wi-Fi signal, and a software idea no one thought would work. I built it from a repair shop into what you see today. And I've spent the last year being erased from that story. People were riveted. Phones hovered midair. Journalists tapped out tweets. But the truth, I continued, is that what I built was never theirs to take. And this, I gestured to the crowd, the lights, the buzz, isn't about ego. It's about respect. Respect for the work, the product, and the people who believed in it from day one. At the far side of the hall, Liam finally emerged, flanked by two senior staffers who looked like they wanted to melt into the walls. I'm not here to humiliate anyone, I added, my voice steady. I'm here to fix what should never have been broken. By noon, the announcement was trending on Twitter #FounderReclaim, #Ethan Cole returns. I didn't celebrate. I met Sophia in the parking garage behind the building. She was leaning against her car, arms crossed, a satisfied glint in her eye. You pulled it off, she said. We did, I replied. She raised an eyebrow. And now? Now we clean up the mess. Investors will panic. Staff will question everything. Morale's going to tank. Is it worth it? She asked. I paused. I'd rather rebuild from ruins than lead a company built on betrayal. Sophia nodded. Well said. CEO power doesn't shift quietly. It drags blood behind it. By the next morning, Margaret and Liam had launched their counterattack. It started, predictably, with press. TechCore Weekly ran a piece titled, Founder Coup, Ethics of a Boardroom Reversal. Margaret was quoted as calling my return unjustified and destabilizing. Liam insisted that I had no experience in executive management, that my decision-making put the company at risk. I let it run. Sophia texted me mid-afternoon, let them talk. We've got the receipts. And we did. I had already met with every top-tier client before the gala. They knew what was coming. In fact, they were waiting for it. Some of them had considered leaving under Liam's vision. Others had quietly paused renewals. The moment my announcement hit, 18 contracts were re-signed. 4 new enterprise deals came through by sundown. Cole Innovations wasn't collapsing. It was breathing again. But Margaret wasn't done. She filed a temporary injunction in Travis County Court, accusing me of breach of fiduciary duty, misuse of intellectual property, and most absurdly emotional manipulation of shareholders. Sophia tossed the document on my desk and rolled her eyes. I've seen Instagram influencers sued with more substance than this. Will it hold? Not even in court-themed reality TV. Still, it was a move. A message? Margaret didn't expect to win. She just wanted to stall me, tie up my time. Scare the board, shake the stockholders. That was her real strategy, make me look unstable. So I called an emergency shareholder meeting. I walked into the boardroom the next day, wearing the same jacket I'd worn the day I pitched our first investor. The same one Liam used to say, looked too startup Y for serious business. The board was quiet when I entered, tense. Sophia followed behind me with a thick binder. I set it on the table. Let's talk numbers, I said. We went line by line. Revenue during Liam's tenure flatlined, burn rate doubled, morale down 40% in internal surveys. Sophia flipped to the final section, internal emails, revealing that Liam had actively delayed a platform update to prioritize a media rebrand campaign, 3 days before we lost our third largest client. And, I said, Margaret personally advised withholding that data from the board, gasps. Throats cleared. A few directors avoided eye contact. I paused. This isn't about revenge, I said. It's about leadership. You can keep backing ghosts of a corporate fantasy, or you can back the people actually doing the work. A motion was called. Margaret Cole was formally removed as chairwoman. Liam's employment contract was voided. Neither of them attended the vote. Later that evening, I got a call from a blocked number. I knew it was her before I answered. Ethan, Margaret said, voice colder than stone. You have no idea what you've done. No, I said. You don't. She took a breath, trying to regain composure. You really think this board will protect you forever? You think you can lead without opposition? I don't need protection, I said calmly. I need time. And you just gave me that. She paused. I built this company too. No, I replied. You built control. I built the company. I hung up before she could twist that into something else. Liam, however, had a different approach. He didn't call. He barged into my office 2 days later. He looked tired, sleepless. The charm was gone. You made your point, he said, hands clenched at his sides. You win. This isn't a game. Then what is it? Punishment? I shook my head. No, Liam. It's balance. You tipped the scales too far. He laughed, bitter. You think people are still on your side? They're just scared of you. No, I said. They're scared of what happens when someone like me gets pushed too far. He looked down, then back up at me. So what now? You exile me? I give you options. He raised a brow. You resign. You leave the company. You keep your shares, but they're non-voting. You get a buyout package, clean exit, no lawsuits. And if I don't, then I release the full audit report, the missed deadlines. The offshore account you used for the PR contract, no one approved. He stared at me, and then, for the first time since he took my chair, I saw it. Fear. He took the deal. Margaret never responded to the termination notice. Her lawyer did. A single line, Miss Cole will not challenge the decision, but reserves the right to respond publicly. She never did, because there was nothing left to say. That night, I walked through the quiet halls of Cole Innovations alone. No cameras, no shareholders, no press. Just the hum of machines, the scent of fresh whiteboard ink, the muted echoes of a startup that had nearly been stolen from under me. I paused in front of the display case by the elevator. It held the first repair form I ever coded. No logo, just my initials in the footer, EC 1.0. I smiled, because finally, after all the storms, I wasn't reclaiming my legacy, I was reauthoring it. The air felt different after they were gone. Margaret, Liam, their absence didn't create a void. It created clarity. For the first time in 2 years, I walked through Cole Innovations without a cloud of whispers trailing behind me. People didn't avert their eyes. They didn't shrink when I passed. Some even smiled. A few nodded. No more second-guessing who was really in charge. And I wasn't just rebuilding the org chart. I was rebuilding the soul of the company. First, I rewrote the executive structure. No more top-down ivory tower. I brought in department leads from the trenches. Engineers, analysts, customer success veterans, the ones who actually kept this place alive while Liam was courting magazine features. I gave them equity, real stakes. Then I restructured product development. We went lean, transparent. The first opened up roadmap discussions to the whole company. Launched a monthly all-hands AMA with my camera on, no script, no slides. It was awkward at first. Then it clicked. People didn't just stay, they stepped up. Our churn rate dropped. Productivity rose. Investor confidence returned faster than even Sophia predicted. We hired 3 new project leads within a month. And the clients, they told me the truth. We almost left, one major partner admitted on a call. But we weren't loyal to the logo. We were loyal to you. I didn't say anything at first, but I felt it. Respect, not for the role, for the work. And Liam? He took the deal and disappeared. Word spread that he tried launching a founder advisory firm in San Francisco. It didn't take off. Apparently, it's hard to sell strategy when your name's tied to a very public fall from grace. He emailed me once, just one line. You made your point. I never replied, because the point wasn't to destroy him. It was to show him he never should have tried to destroy me. Margaret didn't go quietly, but she went. The media turned cold when the documents leaked. Not from me, but someone on the board, one of the new members, I suspect, who had seen enough of her behind-the-scenes strategy to feel sick. She wasn't charged, she wasn't sued, she just disappeared from the conversation. Funny how silence becomes its own sentence. 2 months later, I was asked to give a keynote at the Texas Tech Founders Conference. I almost declined. I wasn't interested in giving a TED talk about resilience or leadership under fire. But then I saw the name of the event organizer, Liam Cole. Of course, he'd taken a job with the hosting VC firm, a junior partner role, symbolic, harmless, still clinging to the fringes of relevance. So I accepted the invitation. The auditorium was packed, mostly young founders, hungry professionals, dreamers trying to find their version of a garage to glory story. I stepped onto the stage in a simple black jacket, no tie, hands in my pockets. The lights were hot, the crowd quiet. I scanned the room, then found him. Liam, back row, eyes fixed on me, pale, still smug but no longer confident. Good, I began. When I was 22, I inherited a failing computer repair shop. No staff, no savings, just problems. Laughter alight, but real. What people don't tell you is that building something from nothing isn't the hard part. Keeping it through storms, politics, family, betrayal, that's where most people fall. I paused. I did. A hush. People leaned in. I fell. Hard. I lost my title, my team, my reputation. Not to strangers. To people who shared my last name. Now, no one moved. But here's what I learned. Legacy isn't about blood. It's about impact. Your last name doesn't build value. Your work does. And then I said what I came to say, the people who underestimate you will always speak first. Let them. Just make sure you're the one still standing at the end. Applause broke like thunder. I didn't look at Liam again. I didn't need to. Later that night, Sophia and I stood outside the venue under the quiet hum of Austin streetlights. She handed me a bottle of cold brew she picked up from the lobby cafe. No champagne? I asked. She smirked. Not your style. We drank in silence for a while. Then she asked, do you feel done? I thought about it. The revenge, the recovery, the rebuilding. And I said, I feel unburdened. She raised her bottle to mine. Then it's over. We clinked. Quiet, no spectacle, just steel meeting glass. Back at headquarters, I walked into the elevator alone. The walls glowed softly with backlit panels. As I ascended, I thought about how far we'd come. On the top floor, just before the doors opened, I caught my reflection. Not the same guy who started this. Not the kid with the Dell and the spreadsheet full of dreams. This version of me? He knew the cost of power, and he paid it with silence, planning, and relentless clarity. The legacy wasn't in the code. It was in control. And now, every bit of it was mine again.